So today's class is regarding the histology of the alimentary canal. So what do you mean by histology? Means it is nothing but the study of tissues. So how the tissues form different layers in the alimentary canal, that is starting from the esophagus and up to the rectum. So from the esophagus to the rectum, alimentary canal, from esophagus to rectum, the alimentary canal shows presence of four layers. Four layers in the cross section of the alimentary canal. You can see the presence of four layers. What are those? So that is, the first one is serosa, the outermost is serosa. Next is muscularis, and the third layer is submucosa, and the fourth one is, or the last one is innermost, is called as mucosa. So histology means we need to study what type of tissues are present in these different layers of the alimentary canal. See, in this diagram you can find out the four different layers which are present in the alimentary canal. So here the outermost is serosa, and the next one is muscularis, and the third one is submucosa, and the innermost is mucosa. Right? After the mucosa, empty cavity present, or the lumen, that is called as lumen of gut or the lumen of alimentary canal. Right? So what this serosa is made up of then? So serosa, serosa is the outermost layer, right? It is the outermost layer. And what is this made up of? Means outermost layer, and it is made up of some connective tissue, and it is made up of some connective tissue as well as mesothelium. What do you mean by mesothelium? You know the epithelium, right? Epithelium tissue, you know. What do you mean by mesothelium then?
Epithelium of visceral organs.
Yes, epithelium of visceral organs or the smooth organs is called as mesothelium. So serosa is made up of some connective tissues and then the mesothelium. Remember, it's a composition what it is made up of. And the next layer is muscularis. So what the muscularis is made up of? So muscularis is made up of smooth muscles. So muscularis is made up of smooth muscles. These smooth muscles are of two types. So what are those two types of smooth muscles? The outer layer of smooth muscles are arranged in a longitudinal manner, and they are called as longitudinal muscles. So smooth muscles, that is outer layer of longitudinal muscles, and inner layer is of circular muscles. See, in this diagram also you can see the outer layer of muscles. So those are the longitudinal muscles, and inner layer they are arranged in the form of circular manner. So these are called as circular muscles. Together, outer longitudinal muscles and inner circular muscles, together they form a layer called as muscularis, that is the second layer of the alimentary canal. And here you can expect the NEET questions, or the questions for the NEET examination, and this muscularis is the most important one part of the, or most important layer of the alimentary canal. So usually, so which terms are the, which concept you can expect for the NEET here? Means the presence of a plexus, that is called as Auerbach flex are the myenteric flexures. What do you mean by that one? Okay. So Auerbachs are myenteric flexures. So Auerbach flexures are the myenteric flexures is present between. So this one is present between, what is that one? Longitudinal and circular muscles. It is present between the longitudinal and circular muscles. So what is the function of this myenteric flexus? It controls the peristaltic movement of alimentary canal. Peristaltic movement of alimentary canal. And it controls peristaltic movements of alimentary canal. What do you mean by plexus? What is the meaning of plexus? Yes, anyone? Myenteric, that refers to muscles. Myo refers to muscles only. So this is the plexus which is present between the two layers of muscles here. That is outer longitudinal muscles, inner circular muscles. So those muscles only helpful for the production of or the formation of peristaltic movement in that alimentary canal, for the passage of the food or for the transport of the food. Then what is the meaning of this plexus? You know that each and every organ or the tissue which are present in our body, they are under the control of a nervous system and then the endocrine system, right? So the flexus here refers for the control of this, what is that one? Peristaltic movement here. Means it must belong to the nervous system only then. So flexus is nothing but network of nerves. There is a presence of network of nerves between longitudinal muscle and circular muscle. That is called as Auerbach plexus or the myenteric plexus that controls the peristaltic movement of alimentary canal. Make a note of these points now. Next layer is submucosa. So what it submucosa is made up of means, this is the layer next to the muscularis, and this submucosa is made up of, yes, it is made up of loose connective tissue. Along with that one, it contains blood vessels. It is also supplied with blood vessels, then lymphatic vessels and nerves also. So submucosa is mainly made up of loose connective tissue, and then it is also supplied with blood vessels, lymphatic vessels and nerves. The submucosa forms glands in stomach. Those are called as gastric glands. The submucosa which forms glands in stomach called gastric glands. Those are called as gastric glands. Okay. And also in intestine called Brunner's glands. So the Brunner's glands or the gastric glands, they are made up of which tissue or the which layer? Submucosa of the alimentary canal. So that is regarding the submucosa. And lastly, the mucosa. This mucosa is the innermost layer. So mucosa is the innermost layer of alimentary canal. innermost layer of the alimentary canal. This innermost layer of the alimentary canal that give rise to the formation of foldings in the stomach, and those foldings are called as gastric rugae, which gives or which forms foldings in stomach. So as the foldings are formed in the stomach and are called as gastric rugae. Gastro refers to stomach only. So the gastric rugae. The foldings are called as rugae. So as they are formed in the stomach region, so they are called as gastric rugae. And the same mucosa also gives rise to the formation of finger-like projections in the intestine. Those are called as villi. And the mucosa give rise to finger-like projections. Where means in small intestine. Those are called as villi. Further, these villi, they are lined by cells and give rise to the formation of microscopic projections. What they are called as microvilli. So further, these villi lined by cells to give microscopic projections. What these microscopic projections are called? So these are called as microvilli. So what is the function of villi and then the microvilli? Absorption of nutrients. Why? If the intestine is present as it is without forming the villi, so food will not get absorbed. Why it will not be absorbed? The intestine is means for the absorption of nutrients only, right? So without formation of the villi or the microvilli, why the absorption will not take place? Absorption takes place. If the absorption takes place even in the absence of these two also, then why the villi and microvilli are required? It is faster.
Not like the
To reduce the? Okay, you're right. What is it? To reduce the space.
So drugs is
Whatever, whether it is drug or the nutrient or the water, right?
reduce the stress.
Stress, what kind of stress will be absorbed there, right? See, villi or the microvilli, they are meant for increasing the absorptive surface for the nutrients. They increase the surface area for the absorption. That is, villi and microvilli increases surface area for absorption of nutrients in intestine. So this is what the diagram where you can see the presence of finger-like projections, what they are called as villi, right? And they give rise to the formation of what is that one? Microvilli also. So that gives a brush-bordered appearance. The presence of microvilli give rise to the brush-bordered appearance, right? So these villi or the microvilli, they are lined by or they are supplied with the blood vessels, that is the capillaries, as well as the lymphatic vessels and the larger lymphatic vessels which enter into that villi. So those are called as lacteals. Remember, this term is very important. What do you mean by lacteal means? larger lymphatic vessels which enter into the villi, they are called as lacteal. Okay. So what is the function of lacteal means? That is mean for absorption of fat. Absorption of fat means digested fat. So in that you can also observe the presence of crypt, that is between two villi there is a presence of crypt. Kuli anta karitivi athwa taggu, right? So there is a presence of crypt, that is called as crypts of Lieberkühn. Crypts of Lieberkühn. Let's discuss about the structure as well the function of these villi, sorry, what is it? Mucosa and then the crypts of Lieberkühn now. Okay, make a note of these points now. Large lymphatic vessels which enter into villi are called, those are called as lacteal. Those are called as lacteal. Remember, this point is very important for the NEET and CET examination. What do you mean by lacteal? Largest lymphatic vessels which enter into the villi are called as lacteal. And villi are also supplied with capillaries, right? These capillaries form network around which forms a network around lacteal in the villi. This is what the arrangement of the capillaries and then the lymphatic vessels into the villi. So in the diagram you can also find the presence of lacteal and the network of capillaries surround the lacteal or around the lacteal. Okay. Next is, see, mucosa contains an epithelial lining that is called as a mucosal epithelial lining. Innermost layer is called as a mucosa in the alimentary canal, and that is having a lining of the epithelium tissue. What it is called as a mucosal epithelium.
Towards gut.
Yes, towards gut, or which opens into the gut. Okay. So mucosal epithelium has got goblet cells. So it has got the specialized cells what are called as goblet cells. So what is the function of these goblet cells? Yes? Yes. Their function is to secrete mucus. They secrete a mucus for lubrication of food. And this mucus also helps in the adherence of the digested food particles. Adherence means clump together or bind together. The digested food particles bind together. And this mucus also ensures the easy passage of the food through the alimentary canal. Right? So for that reason only, the mucosal epithelium in that goblet cells, they secrete the mucus for the easy lubrication of the easy passage of the food. Next is, in between the villi, the mucosal epithelium are mucus that give rise to the formation of crypts. Those are called as the crypts of Lieberkühn. And in between villi, it give rise to the formation of crypts. Those crypts are called as crypts of Lieberkühn. And these crypts of Lieberkühn, along with the mucus, that plays a very important role in secreting the digestive enzymes and such a set of digestive enzymes together called as succus entericus or the intestinal juice, which plays the final role or an significant role and in the final digestion of the food. So the final activity or the final digestion of the food will be taken by the intestinal juice, and that is secreted from this the cells which are present in the crypts of Leberkuhn along with the mucus, right? So there you can find the presence of crypt, and that crypt is called as crypts of Leberkuhn, that plays a very important role in the final digestion of food. Is this clear? Okay. So this is regarding the mucosal epithelium and then the mucus and remaining 4 layers of the, what is that one? Alimentary canal. And all these 4 layers, whatever we have discussed till now. So all these 4 layers, what are those 4 layers? That is serosa, next muscularis, yes, submucosa and mucosa. Submucosa and mucosa. All these 4 layers, they show some modifications in different parts of alimentary canal. In different parts of alimentary canal means their appearance will not be same throughout the alimentary canal. So wherever some modifications are required, so they will show the modifications at different parts of the alimentary canal. For example, the mucosa give rise to the formation of foldings in stomach region only. Those are called as gastric rugae. And only in small intestine it gives rise to the formation of finger-like projections, what they are called as villi. But what about in the esophagus region or the stomach region? Is there the formation of any foldings are there? No, right? So whenever required and wherever required, these 4 layers undergoes modifications. So this is what regarding the histology of alimentary canal. So next part of the digestive system is digestive glands. Till now we have discussed different parts of the alimentary canal, starting from the mouth to the anus and the 4 different layers which are present in the alimentary canal as a histology of the alimentary canal, right? Next is regarding various digestive glands that aids in the digestion of the food or that helps in the digestion of the food. What are those digestive glands? 3 main type of digestive glands are present or associated with the digestive system. What are those glands? There are 3 main glands which are called as associated digestive glands with the alimentary canal as a part of digestive system. That is, what are those? The first one, salivary glands. The second one is liver, and the third is pancreas. Along with that one, gastric glands and then the intestinal glands. Let's discuss about these one by one. The first one is salivary glands. So what do you mean by salivary glands? What do they secrete? See, function of gland is to secrete, right? So what they are going to secrete here, salivary glands? Salivary juice. Means is it contains any fruit juices like apple juice, chico juice, like that? Then what will be present in that salivary juice? That is called as saliva, right? It is called as saliva. Yes. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrate digesting enzymes. Okay, then lubrication. Very good. For lubrication, mucus will also be present in that one. Next, let's discuss about that one. Okay, how many type of salivary glands are present? Salivary glands. These are meant for the secretion of saliva. Okay. So there are 3 types of salivary glands are present. There are 3 types of salivary glands are there. salivary glands are present. Where they are present? Outside to buccal cavity. Outside to buccal cavity. So that they can secrete the saliva into the buccal cavity only. So what are those three types of salivary glands? That is, they are, yes, the first one, parotid glands. First one are parotid glands, and the second one is submandibular or submaxillary gland. Submaxillary glands, and third type is sublingual glands. Out of these three type of salivary glands, which one are the largest? Among the salivary glands, which one are the largest? Parotid glands are the largest. Parotid glands are the largest salivary gland only. Largest salivary glands. Where they are present? They are present near cheek region, right? That is inferior and anterior to ear. Inferior and anterior to ear, their location. So what is their location? Location is that is near cheeks, inferior and anterior to ear. Inferior and anterior to ear. And here the one thing you need to remember, which is very important for the NEET examination, is the ducts through which these glands opens into the buccal cavity, right? So these parotid glands, they opens through. So what is the name of the duct through which they opens? Means parotid glands opens through the duct, what they are called as, Stenson's duct. Stenson's duct. Remember the name of the duct. Next, submandibular or the submaxillary glands. Name itself indicates here, they are present at angles to the mandible, nothing but lower jaw. Lower jaw is called as mandible, right? So, jaw, yeah. So, location, the angles to mandible or lower jaw. Then it opens through a duct called as, and it opens through a duct which is known as Wharton's duct, which is called as Wharton's duct. So remember the name of duct through which they opens into the buccal cavity. Next is sublingual gland, as their name itself indicates here. Sublingual means they are present below the tongue. So their location below tongue. That is what their location is. Then they opens through the duct which is called as here Revinus duct. What is the name of the duct here? It is called as Revinus duct. They opens through Revinus duct. So these are the three different type of salivary glands, that is parotid, submandibular or submaxillary, and then sublingual glands. And there are three different type of ducts are present through which these glands opens. Those are Stenson's, Wharton's, and then the Ravenous duct. Remember, these ducts and the salivary glands may be asked in the form of match the following type of questions in the NEET examination, right? Parotid gland, Stenson's duct. Submaxillary or submandibular gland, Wharton's duct. And sublingual glands, Ravenous duct. So what these salivary glands secrete? They secrete saliva. They secrete saliva in order to initiate initiate the digestion process, enzymatic digestion process. So what is the secretion from these glands and how, where it will get secreted? Let's see that. Before that, make a note of these points. So these salivary glands secrete saliva into buccal cavity. So what is the composition of saliva and how much saliva is being secreted per day? Okay. Yes, they secrete 1.5 liters of saliva per day. And what is the pH of saliva? Yes, pH of saliva is 6.8. So it is 6.8. What do you mean by pH? The negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration, right? Okay. This saliva, what is the composition of saliva? So, composition of saliva means what the saliva is made up of. Yes? It is made up of, yes, it contains water and then solutes. Water and then the solutes. So how much water is present?
90%.
That is 99.5%. 99.5% of saliva is water only. Remaining 0.5% is solute. So the solutes are present just 0.5%. What are those solutes? What are those solutes? What these solutes includes? Yes, it includes mucus, right? It includes mucus and then enzymes. Here, what are the enzymes here? One is salivary amylase, which is a starch digesting enzyme, and an antibacterial enzyme, what is called as lysozyme. Here salivary amylase is a starch digesting enzyme. It is also called as tyalin. What is the other name given for it? It is tyalin. And this lysozyme is antibacterial enzyme. So other than saliva, where do you find the presence of lysozyme in our body? Other than saliva, where else it is present in our body? Lead. Why lead? Lysozyme.
Sir, this is cells, sir.
Which cells? Tears. It is present in tears, okay? There. This mucus is for the lubrication and adherence of digested or the masticated food particles. What is the function of mucus here? This mucus is for lubrication and adherence of masticated food particles. See, when you take some food stuff into your mouth, okay, initially what shape and what structure it may be having. It may be idli, dosa, vada, chicken, burgers, whatever it is, pizza or the pani puri, your most favorite one, right? So whatever it is. once you chew it, when it mixes with the saliva, it get turned into the form called as paste-like form, right? That is called as bolus. What we call as bolus. So how after the chewing, after the mastication, how those particles get clumped to each other, adhered to each other? That is by the presence of mucus only, right? Then it will turn into a paste-like structure, that is called as bolus, right? So that conversion is mainly brought by this mucus only. Next, other than the mucus and enzymes, it also includes, okay, what is that one? Electrolytes. Electrolytes. What are those electrolytes? Electrolytes are the ions. What are those? Yes, sodium and potassium, right? Chloride and bicarbonates, right? So etc. So these electrolytes will also be present. Along with that one, okay, so along with this, and also contains uric acid and urea in small quantity. If you remember your first PU classes regarding the excretory products and their elimination, right? There, the role played by the other organs or other than the kidney for the excretion, there we will also discuss regarding the saliva, which also helps in the excretion of uric acid and urea. Means in saliva, uric acid and urea will be present in small quantity. So only very oftenly we will be spitting, right? That is for the removal of this uric acid and then the urea. So this is regarding the composition of saliva. Any doubt in this one? So this is regarding salivary glands, not these points.